Hello mga friendships! Welcome back to Althorp House or Althorp Estate. This is the childhood home of Diana, the Princess of Wales. Now, Althorp has been home to the Spencer family for more than 500 years and contains a fascinating variety of pictures, furniture, ceramics, and fine interiors. Like many great country houses, it has benefited from the discriminating and varied collecting of generations of occupants, their marriages, and chance provisions. But the Spencers have also had the knack of going to the right people. Its collection of portraits is particularly fine and justly famous. As a record of a family and as a record of English portraiture, it is outstanding. Some mga friendships. This is now Princess Diana's house. As the diarist John Evelyn Riley noted at the time, the house, or rather palace at Althorp, is a noble pile in form of an H. Built of brick and freestone, the hall is well, the staircase excellent, the rooms of state, galleries, offices, and furniture such as may become a prince. It is situate in the midst of a garden exquisitely planted and kept, with rows and walks of trees, canals, and fish ponds. In 1772, part of the roof fell in. Years of benign neglect were compounded by the first Earl Spencer's prior interest in the construction of his London mansion, which was the Spencer House. Only after his son's accession was an overhaul considered. So mga friendships, there has been a house at Althorp since at the latest the beginning of the 16th century. Sir John Spencer acquired a 300-acre estate around Althorp in 1508, and his grandson, another Sir John, had made Althorp the principal Spencer home by the time of his death in 1586. But previously, the Spencer family had lived primarily at Wormleighton, that is in Warwickshire, much of which was destroyed in the English Civil War. Oh, okay, I'm signing off. No photography allowed. Mga friendships, the camera is not allowed inside, so that's why I'm sharing with you the photos from the Althorp book, which is called The Unique Family and a Unique Home. So now let's go back to the Spencers. The Spencers have been farmers since pre-Tudor times, coming to prominence in Warwickshire in the 15th century. John became successor of Wormleighton in 1469 and a tenant at Althorp. In 1486, his nephew, another John, through trade in livestock and commodities, then bought both properties outright and was knighted, and so laid the bedrock for the family's fortune. The ninth, Earl Spencer, who is Diana's brother Charles, said that the history of Althorp is the history of a family. As you walk around this house, he said, you will see the accumulation of paintings, furniture, china, and sculpture, which have appealed to the taste of his family over the generations. He said, I hope that beyond the art, you will also notice that Althorp is very much a home. The exterior may be forbidding with its stark tiling, and the park may appear to be huge and impressive, but the inside is warm and welcoming. I believe this is down to the fact that one family has used this house as a home. In an unbroken line, what you feel as you go around, it is part of the house's soul. So he also said that when his ancestors first settled there in Althorp, they did so as large-scale sheep farmers. Since then, they have been politicians, courtiers, sailors, ambassadors, and preachers. These were the men, of course. But the women of the Spencer family have an impressive record too, he said. Some have been considered highly fashionable, others deeply charitable, and many have been rated beauties. An independence of spirit is detectable throughout the Spencer women. It would be true to say that an appreciation of what is important and a dismissal of what is irrelevant have always been evident. Now the chapel. The chapel remains a functioning place of worship today. 6 of the current Earls' children were christened here, and the chapel is still used by the family for special occasions. The historic collection of prayer and hymn books in the chapel demonstrates its role in the life of the Spencers through the centuries. Now the anteroom. The anteroom contains many of the paintings from Spencer House. Once a bedroom, it is now used as an occasional dining room for informal occasions. Lord Charles Bruce died there in 1897 from smallpox. He was the brother-in-law of Charlotte, Countess Spencer. Now the Great Room. The Great Room was created in the middle of the 17th century for the second Earl of Sunderland and called the Great Chamber. It formed the center of a suite of state apartments and was recreated in its present form by the 7th Earl Spencer. The Great Room was used by the 2nd Lord Spencer for political meetings. It is used today as a dining room for the family and for business conferences. Now next is the King William bedroom. The King William bedroom was the state bedroom at the time of the 2nd Earl of Sunderland. The King William III slept here in 1695 when the bed canopy was covered in ostrich feathers. The mirror is from Spencer House in London. The chimneypiece is by Philip Hardwick and the grate is from Wormleyton. The bedroom remains the best guest room. The oak bedroom was witness to one of the most romantic episodes in the Spencer family history. On the 20th of December 1755, during a ball to celebrate the coming of age of John, later the 1st Earl Spencer, he and his fiancée Georgiana Poyntes slipped away from the celebrations with close family members and John's tutor, who was conveniently also a priest, and were secretly married in this bedroom. Now, the Princess of Wales' bedroom was named in honor of a visit to Althorp from the future King Edward VII and his wife, Princess Alexandra. Frederick, 4th Earl Spencer, had this as his bedroom. He died here suddenly in 1857, just after his son had been elected to the House of Commons. The picture gallery is based on the original Elizabethan gallery in the southwest wing of the house. It is 115 feet long, 20 feet wide, and 19 feet high. The room was repaneled in 1682 by Robert, 2nd Earl of Sunderland, to accommodate his collection of paintings. To the left of the entrance are a series of portraits of the beauties of Charles II's court, painted and signed by Sir Peter Lely. The library. Now, traditionally, the family sitting room. The library today is as Holland left it, save for the plaster ceiling added by John MacVicar Anderson in 1877. Too long for its elevation, Holland harmonized the room by cropping the in base and inserting the pillars. The 10,000 books include the remnants of the private library amassed by the 2nd Earl, which at one time was the finest private library in the world. The South Drawing Room. The South Drawing Room was for 100 years a dining room and now serves as a reception room. It contains some splendidly ornate and important furniture, much of it French, acquired by the 1st Earl Spencer for Spencer House in London. Marlow Room. This was one of the last rooms to take shape after the refashioning of the house in 1877. Until 1916, the room was divided at the columns. At the far end of the Raphael Library, an overflow for the Long Library, while the larger space was billiard room. Between the two fireplaces are a pair of portraits by Carlo Maratta painted in Rome. The right-hand one showing Robert, 2nd Earl of Sunderland in classical attire, Empire, he was the original art kunusa of the family and brought back many of the paintings seen in the collection. Next is the garden lobby. The porcelain at Althorp is a testimony of the Spencers' continued interest in collecting over many generations. The extensive collection is quite comprehensive, covering Oriental porcelain, Chinese export porcelain made for the European market, as well as most continental and British factories of the 18th and 19th centuries. The round oval. It is now dedicated to Diana, Princess of Wales, with a central silhouette in black marble upon white marble, and on the left a tablet with a quotation from Diana on her willingness to undertake charitable works, and on the right the conclusion of Earl Spencer's tribute at the Westminster's Abbey. The stables. Until the start of the 20th century, the stables were home to 100 horses and 40 grooms. The stables are now the setting for exhibitions, events, the Althorp gift shop, and the stable cafe. The estate. The estate encompasses cottages, farms, woodlands, and villages, which combine to give a rich mix of landscapes, habitats, and activities. The management of the estate seeks to balance commercially based activity with good stewardship of the landscape, wildlife conservation, and a recognition that the countryside is increasingly used for leisure, recreation, and sport. The aim is to promote a thriving rural environment which makes a positive contribution to the local economy. So mga friendships, Althorps also hosts some events. So variety of public and private events throughout the year, ranging from product launches to weddings, corporate lunches, to quite essential afternoon teas, intimate dinners, to picnic and performances. The two highlights of the year are the hugely popular Althorp Literary Festival, a unique celebration of the written word, which attracts authors and personalities from around the world, and the award-winning Althorp Food and Drink Festival, which celebrates quality producers and suppliers in Northamptonshire and the surrounding areas.